The locker room door clicked shut like a gunshot in the empty silence, sealing us in with the ghosts of sweat-soaked jerseys and unspoken sins. Coach Harlan's hand lingered on the knob, his broad shoulders blocking the sliver of hallway light. And when he turned, his eyes, those piercing blue eyes I'd stolen glances at for 2 years, locked onto mine with a hunger that stripped me bare. "Levi," he whispered, voice cracking like thunder over the Midwest plains. "I can't pretend anymore." And in that moment, as he crossed the tiled floor in 3 strides, I knew my world was about to shatter into something dangerously beautiful. I was just trying to be the good kid, the one who stayed late after football practice to stack the cones and wipe down the benches, because that's what you do in a town like Willow Creek, Nebraska, where cornfields stretch like endless regrets and everyone knows your daddy's voting record before they know your name. Coach Harlan had been the anchor of my senior year, the man who saw potential in my scrawny frame when the other guys called me String Bean Levi. At 17, I was all limbs and longing, hiding crushes on the quarterback under layers of bravado and bad jokes. But Coach, he was 35, built like a linebacker who'd traded pads for polos, with a wedding ring that glinted under the fluorescent buzz like a warning sign I ignored. It started innocently enough that crisp October afternoon. Practice had dragged into twilight, the team scattering like leaves in the wind as the sun dipped behind the grain elevators. "Hey, Levi, mind giving me a hand with the gear?" Coach called from the field house, his voice gravelly from barking orders all day. I nodded, heart thudding not from the run drills, but from the way his gaze lingered a beat too long, like he was mapping the freckles across my nose. We hauled pads and helmets into the storage room adjacent to his office, the air thick with the musk of turf and leather. I was stacking water jugs when I felt it, his hand on my shoulder, steadying me as I reached too high. "Easy there, kid," he murmured, breath warm against my ear. "Kid." The word stung, a reminder of the chasm between us, me, the closeted gay boy dreaming in stolen sketches of muscular forms, him, the straight arrow coach with a wife and a mortgage. But his touch didn't pull away. It burned through my hoodie, fingers flexing just enough to send sparks down my spine. I froze, jugs slipping from my grip, clattering to the floor in a splash of forgotten Gatorade. "Sorry, Coach," I stammered, cheeks flaming as I bent to mop it up with my sleeve. He knelt too, our knees brushing, and suddenly the room felt smaller, the door we'd left ajar now a mocking promise of escape. That's when he did it, stood, crossed to the threshold, and pushed it closed with a deliberate thud. The lock didn't click, it didn't need to. The finality hung in the air like the echo of a confession. I straightened, wiping my hands on my jeans, pulse hammering in my throat. "Coach, everything okay?" My voice was a squeak, betraying the storm inside, half terror, half thrill. What if someone heard? What if this was nothing, just him grabbing a forgotten clipboard? But his face, shadowed by the single desk lamp, told a different story. Jaw tight, Adam's apple bobbing as he swallowed hard, he stepped closer, close enough that I could smell his aftershave mixed with the faint tang of exertion. "Levi," he said again, softer this time, like my name was a prayer he'd rehearsed in the dark. His hand rose, hesitant, cupping my cheek with a gentleness that belied the calluses from years of gripping footballs. I gasped, eyes widening as his thumb traced my lower lip, rough and reverent. "God help me, I shouldn't. But I can't stop thinking about you. The way you move on that field, all fire and grace, It's killing me. The world tilted. This wasn't some fantasy I'd scribbled in my journal under the covers, illuminated by phone glow. This was real, his touch electric, his breath ragged, his body towering yet trembling. I leaned in without thinking, our foreheads touching, and whispered, "Me too, coach." Every damn day. Then his lips crashed into mine, fierce and desperate, tasting of mint gum and forbidden want. It was messy, all teeth and urgency, his hands fisting my shirt as if anchoring himself to sanity. I melted into it, fingers tangling in his short-cropped hair, the storage room fading to a blur of shelves and shadows. We broke apart gasping, his eyes wild, mine dazed. This is wrong," he rasped, but his arms didn't let go. They pulled me closer, one hand sliding down my back, possessive. "Your wife's waiting at home," I murmured, guilt twisting like a knife even as desire pooled hot in my gut. He winced, the ring on his finger catching the light like an accusation. "Emily. She doesn't know this side of me. Hasn't for years." The admission hung heavy, a crack in his all-American facade. In that locked-away moment, we confessed more with touches than words. His kisses trailed to my neck, nipping softly, drawing a whimper I couldn't stifle. I arched against him, feeling the hard line of his arousal press through our clothes, a shock that made my knees buckle. "Levi," he groaned, voice muffled against my skin. "You're gonna ruin me." But I was the one unraveling, threads of my careful life fraying under the weight of this truth. I loved him, had for months, in the quiet ache of bleacher seats and post-game high-fives. We didn't go further that night. The distant slam of the gym doors jolted us apart, hearts pounding like war drums. He smoothed my hair, a fatherly gesture that twisted the knife deeper, and murmured, "Go home, Levi. Act normal. We'll figure this out." I nodded, slipping out into the cooling dusk, the taste of him lingering like a brand. Willow Creek slept unaware, porch lights flickering on as I biked home, wind whipping tears from my eyes, not from fear, but from the terrifying joy of being seen. The weeks blurred into a secret rhythm, stolen moments pieced together like a forbidden mosaic. I'd linger after practice, helping with inventory while the team vanished to Friday night bonfires and crushes on cheerleaders. Coach's office became our sanctuary, door wedged shut with a chair, blinds drawn against prying eyes. We'd talk first about my dreams of art school in Chicago, escaping the corn-choked horizon, about his glory days at the University of Nebraska, scholarships squandered for stability. "I married young," he'd say, tracing patterns on my palm. "Thought it was what men did. But you make me remember who I am." Our kisses evolved from frantic to languid, explorations mapping uncharted territories. One rainy Tuesday, with thunder rumbling like divine disapproval, he knelt before me, hands reverent on my thighs. "Let me show you," he whispered, eyes locked on mine as he undid my belt with trembling fingers. The vulnerability in his gaze, raw, unmasked, shattered me. I came undone under his touch, gasping his name like a lifeline, the world narrowing to the heat of his mouth and the storm outside. But love in the shadows breeds monsters. Whispers started in the hallways. Levi's coach's pet, Tommy Hargrove, the team captain with a bully's grin and a homophobic streak wider than the Platte River, cornered me one lunch period. "What's your deal?" String bean, sucking up for extra playtime. His laugh was a blade, slicing through my facade. I shoved past, stomach churning, but the seed of doubt took root. What if they found out? What if Emily did? Coach felt it too, the noose tightening. We gotta be careful, he'd say, pulling away mid-embrace, eyes haunted. Yet, in those fragile hours, we'd bare souls alongside skin. He sketched me once, on a napkin from the diner, my face in pencil strokes, capturing the curve of my smile he'd coaxed out. Your art, Levi. Pure and wild. I kept it folded in my wallet, a talisman against the growing storm. Thanksgiving loomed like a guillotine. Family gatherings where I'd paste on grins while Mom fretted over my brooding. Dad, a stoic farmer with hands like weathered oak, clapped my shoulder. Proud of you, son. Coach says you're captain material. The irony burned. That night, alone in my room with posters of Van Gogh peeling at the edges, I texted Coach, miss you. Can't wait for Monday. His reply, me too, kid. But we need to talk. Monday came with frost on the fields and a chill in his voice. After the last bell, I found him in the office, tie loosened, a half-empty coffee mug steaming like unspoken regrets. Sit, he said, gesturing to the worn leather chair. No door closed this time. It yawned open, inviting judgment. My heart plummeted. What's wrong? He paced, hands raking through his hair. Emily found the napkin. In my gym bag. Thought it was one of the boys at first, but she asked questions. The words landed like punches. I gripped the armrests, knuckles white. What did you say? Lied. Said it was a team thing. His eyes met mine. Stormy. But Levi, she's pulling away. And Tommy. He cornered me after practice. Said he saw us last week. By the bleachers. The world grade. Tommy. That snake. Lurking like original sin. We can deny it, I pleaded, standing, reaching for him. But he stepped back, a chasm widening. It's not that simple. You're 17. I'm your coach. This could end everything. My job, your future. His voice broke, and for the first time, I saw fear in him, not desire. I love you, Levi. God, I do. But maybe we stop. For your sake. The betrayal hit like a blindside tackle, stealing my breath. Stop? After everything. Tears blurred him, but I saw the resolve hardening his jaw. You don't get to decide that alone. I stormed out, door banging like a finality, the hallway echoing my sobs. Days bled into numbness. Practice became torture, his whistles sharp as accusations, my plays sloppy with rage. I skipped 2 sessions, holing up in the art room with charcoal and canvases, smearing black fury across paper, his face twisted in rejection. Mom noticed, her worry lines deepening over pot roast dinners. Talk to me, honey. Is it a girl? I laughed bitterly, the sound hollow. If only. The breaking point came mid-December, snow blanketing Willow Creek in deceptive purity. The team holiday party raged at the community center, punch spiked with stolen whiskey, laughter raucous under twinkling lights. I nursed a soda in the corner, avoiding Coach's table where Emily perched, her smile brittle as spun glass. Tommy, 3 sheets to the wind, slung an arm around me. Hey, lover boy, where's your man crush tonight? His slur drew snickers, eyes turning our way. I shoved him off, heat rising. Shut your mouth, Hargrove. But he pressed, voice low and venomous. Saw you too. In the office. Disgusting. The room spun. Whispers erupted like fireworks, heads swiveling. Across the crowd, Coach's face paled, Emily's hand flying to her mouth. Chaos erupted, shouts, accusations flying like confetti from hell. Dad burst through the doors, summoned by a frantic call, his face thunderous. Levi, what the hell's going on? I bolted, coat forgotten, into the biting night. Snow stung my cheeks as I ran, lungs burning, toward the only place that felt like home, the field house. The door was unlocked, a beacon in the storm. I collapsed against the lockers, sobs racking me, the cold seeping through my thin shirt. Footsteps echoed, Coach, coat dusted white, eyes red-rimmed. Levi, he reached, but I flinched. You left me out there, I choked. To drown, he sank to his knees, snow melting into puddles. I was wrong. Terrified. But seeing you like that, I can't lose you, his confession poured out then, raw and unfiltered, the marriage crumbling long before me, the buried truths of his youth, kisses in frat house basements, denied for the American dream. You're my truth, Levi. My redemption. We clung through the night, words weaving wounds into scars. By dawn, with the storm hushed, he called Emily. Phone pressed to his ear in the office, voice steady. I love someone else. A man. It's over. The line went dead. Freedom tasted like fresh snow. But Willow Creek wasn't kind to outliers. Rumors metastasized, parents pulling kids from practice, school board meetings buzzing with outrage. Dad sat me down that Christmas Eve, Bible open on the kitchen table. Son, this is a choice. We can fix it. Send you to conversion camp. His eyes, so like mine, pleaded. Mom wept silently, clutching her cross. I stood tall, heart aching but unbroken. It's not a choice, Dad. It's me. And I won't hide anymore. Coach resigned quietly, the napkin sketch his resignation letter, tucked into the principal's drawer. We left together that spring, me for Chicago's art scene, him for a fresh start in Denver, coaching at a rec league where rings weren't required. Letters bridged the miles, then visits. Lazy Sundays in his tiny apartment, sketches of us framed on walls, love no longer locked away. Years later, at my first gallery show, canvases alive with cornfield sunsets and stolen glances, I spotted him in the crowd, grayer but grinning. Proud of you, Levi, he said, pulling me close amid the murmurs. No doors closed now, only horizons opened wide. In the end, Willow Creek faded to memory, a scar that taught mercy. Love, we'd learned, wasn't a shock in the dark. It was the light we chose to chase, together. The gallery's hum faded as Coach, no, Harlan now, just Harlan, wove through the crowd, his hand finding the small of my back like it belonged there. At 22, I traded varsity jackets for button-downs, my once scrawny frame filled out from city gym sessions and late-night inspirations. But his touch still ignited that old spark, a reminder of the boy who'd trembled in a storage room. "This one's my favorite," he said, nodding to the central piece. A massive oil of tangled limbs in golden hour light, abstract yet achingly intimate. Our story, veiled in strokes of umber and sienna. We slipped out to the fire escape, Chicago's skyline glittering like a promise kept. The air nipped sharp, carrying echoes of lake wind, and he lit a cigarette, a habit he'd kicked then picked up again in the stress of new beginnings. "You were brilliant up there," he murmured, exhaling smoke that curled like secrets. I leaned against the railing, watching him, the lines around his eyes deeper now, etched by divorces and doubts. "Could say the same about you. Rec League MVP," he chuckled, low and warm. "Kids are honest. Call me out on my shit. Keeps me grounded." Silence settled, comfortable yet charged, the kind built on shared silences. 4 years since Willow Creek, and we'd carved a rhythm. Weekends stolen from my studio shifts, his coaching gigs. No grand gestures, just us, piecing normalcy from the wreckage. But normalcy has cracks. That night, over takeout lo mein in my walk-up, he grew quiet, fork pushing peas like confessions. "Levi, I got an offer. Back in Nebraska. State-level assistant coach." The words landed soft, but they hollowed me. Return to the fields that birthed us, or the ghosts that nearly buried us. I set my chopsticks down, throat tight. "And us?" He reached across the rickety table, calloused fingers lacing mine. "We'd make it work. You could visit. Or move with me." The offer hung, tempting yet treacherous. Chicago was my canvas. Diverse streets pulsing with queer pride parades, galleries that celebrated string bean dreams. Nebraska? Echoes of slammed doors and slurred taunts. "I need to think," I said, voice steady despite the quake inside. He nodded, pulling me onto the couch, our bodies fitting like puzzle edges worn smooth. We made love slow that night, rediscovering contours in the dim of string lights. His whispers in my ear, "Stay with me," mingling with my gasps. But dawn brought clarity, harsh as winter sun. I couldn't go back. Not to the boy I was, nor the man he'd forced me to become. We parted amicably, or so we lied. Texts tapered to emails, calls to check-ins. I threw myself into work, pigments and patrons filling the void. A solo show in Soho led to commissions, my name whispered in lofts from Brooklyn to the Bay. Harlan's updates trickled, promotions, a dog named Scout, the ache unspoken. Then, summer 29, package arrived, brown paper, postmarked Omaha. Inside, that napkin sketch, edges frayed from years in a drawer, accompanied by a letter in his blocky scrawl. "Levi, it's been too long. Saw your piece in art forum, knew it was us, even blurred. I'm proud, but damn, I miss you. The team's heading to nationals, but it feels empty without your fire in the stands. Come to the game, one weekend. No strings. Just see if the spark's still there." Harlan, my chest tightened, memories flooding, snow-swept confessions, the taste of risk. I booked the flight before reason could intervene, landing in Lincoln under a sky bruised purple. The stadium thrummed, alumni and families in red, the air thick with hot dogs and hope. I spotted him on the sidelines, whistle around neck, barking plays with that old authority. Our eyes met across the turf, his widening, a grin breaking like sunrise. Halftime found us in a concessions tent, away from the roar. "You came," he breathed, pulling me into a bear hug that smelled of grass and Gatorade. Close, he was softer around the edges, laugh lines deeper, but the blue of his eyes still pierced. We talked over stale popcorn, my latest series on hidden geographies, his battles with board politics. "They still whisper," he admitted, voice low, "about us. But I own it now. Came out to the team last year. Half cheered, half bolted. Worth it." Pride swelled, mingling with the pull I'd never shaken. "I'm seeing someone. I lied. Testing waters." His face fell, then recovered with a nod. "Good. You deserve steady." But the lie soured, and as the whistle blew, I confessed over the din, "Kidding. It's been you, always." The game blurred, cheers, tackles, a win sealed in overtime. After, in his truck rumbling toward a motel off I-80, we kissed like amateurs, all nerves and need. The room was generic, faded quilt, AC humming, but it was ours. Clothes shed in a frenzy. We mapped scars. Mine from a studio fall, his from a bar fight defending his boy. Laughter wove through moans, tenderness eclipsing the years apart. Morning brought coffee and crossroads. "Come to Chicago," I urged, tracing his collarbone. "Assistant curator gigs open." "We could." He silenced me with a kiss, then pulled back. "I serious. I want to. But Nebraska's home now." Roots I finally grew, heart sinking. I nodded. Another parting, this one laced with maturity's bitter edge. Back in the city, the ache festered. I dated a barista with tattoos, a sculptor with wandering hands, but they were placeholders, echoes of Harlan's depth. Months turned to a year, my work thriving while loneliness gnawed. Then, a call, his voice, edged with panic. "Levi, the scout. Vet says cancer. I need you." I flew out, landing in a Harlan hollowed by grief. Bearded, I shadowed. The house he'd bought one, small and sturdy, reeking of wet fur and worry. Scout, a golden retriever with soulful eyes, lay curled on a rug, tail thumping weakly. We nursed her through the night, Harlan's head on my shoulder, tears soaking my shirt. "Can't lose her. Can't lose this," he whispered, gesturing vaguely to us. She passed at dawn, buried under an old oak in his backyard. We mourned with shovels and silence, then made love in the grass, earth still fresh, bodies a defiant pulse against loss. "Stay," he begged after, hands framing my face. "Build with me." This time, I did. Chicago's lights dimmed as I packed, subletting the studio to a protege. Willow Creek welcomed warily, glances at the grocery, nods from old teammates, but Harlan's arm around me silenced most. We coached together, me assisting with the art club, blending brushes with balls. Dad came around slowly, a gruff welcome home over Easter ham. Mom baked pies, her hugs tentative then tight. Love, turned out, wasn't a closed door but an open field, vast, unpredictable, ours to till. And in the quiet evenings, Harlan's sketch framed above our bed, I knew we'd shocked each other into becoming whole. yet wholeness has thorns. By fall, Willow Creek's undercurrents stirred. A new principal, fresh from evangelical Kansas, with a gaze that lingered too long on Harlan's whistle and my paint-splattered jeans. Coach Harlan, he drawled at the first staff meeting, voice syrupy with scripture. We appreciate your contributions. But let's keep things biblical around here. Laughter rippled, uneasy. Harlan's jaw ticked, but he nodded, ever the diplomat. I felt it like a draft through cracks, the town's tolerance paper thin, stretched by our visibility. Tommy Hargrove, now a deputy with a beer gut and a badge, pulled me over one crisp evening as I drove home from Lincoln's supply store. Levi, he leered through the window, breath sour. Still playing for the other team? Harlan keeping you in line. I gripped the wheel, heart slamming, and bid out. Drive safe, officer. He chuckled, ticket book untouched, but the threat lingered like exhaust. Harlan dismissed it over dinner. Pot roast he'd charred, my fault for distracting him with a kiss mid-chop. Tommy's all bark. Always was. But worry etched his brow, and our nights grew vigilant. Doors double-locked, walks hand in hand only in the yard. Still, we bloomed in pockets, weekend hikes in the sandhills, where dunes whispered forgiveness. Lazy Sundays sketching each other, his lines bolder now, capturing the man I'd become. Then betrayal slithered in, uninvited. Emily's cousin, Marla, ran the local paper, a rag of crop reports and church suppers. She'd always eyed us with pursed lips, her bless your heart, a venomous veil. One Tuesday, as leaves turned blood red, she cornered Harlan at the diner. Heard whispers, she cooed, notepad poised. About you and the artist boy. Care to comment? For the community good. He laughed it off. But the article dropped Friday. Local coaches' unconventional partnership raises eyebrows. No names, but photos, grainy shots of us at the county fair. Arms linked, my head on his shoulder. The town ignited. Petitions circulated for Harlan's firing. Parents yanked kids from practice. Dad called, voice strained. Levi, this is stirring up trouble. Think of your mother. I raged in our kitchen, slamming cabinets till knuckles bled. We're not hiding. Not again. Harlan pulled me close, steady as ever. We fight smart. Meeting with the board Monday, but his eyes, those blue anchors, held a flicker of doubt, and in bed that night, his touches were urgent, as if memorizing me against loss. The board meeting was a circus. Fluorescent hell, folding chairs creaking under pious posteriors. Principal droned on, moral decay, role models, while Marla scribbled from the back. Harlan stood, voice resonant. I've coached here 10 years. Built this program from scraps. My life off-field, private. But since you insist, Levi's my partner. We love each other. Deal with it, gasps rippled. I squeezed his hand under the table, pride swelling fierce. They didn't fire him outright, budget cuts. They claimed, reassigning him to admin. A demotion, velvet-gloved exile. We drove home in silence, snow flurrying early, the radio crooning Johnny Cash laments. It's okay, he lied, gripping the wheel white-knuckled. More time for us, but I saw the fracture, the man who'd traded dreams for duty, now paying twice. Winter deepened the rift. Harlan withdrew, volunteering at church suppers to smooth feathers, coming home reeking of casserole and compromise. I'd wait up, easel abandoned, sketching his slumped form by lamplight. Talk to me, I'd plead, but he'd deflect. Just tired. Babe. Intimacy frayed. Kisses chased. Bodies side-sleeping like wary allies. Doubt crept in, insidious as frost. Was this love's price? Returning to chains we'd broken? One blizzard night, cabin fevered, I confronted him by the fire. You're ashamed. Admit it. He flinched, poker clattering. I'm protecting us. You think Chicago welcomed you with open arms? Bigots are everywhere. Just quieter. The fight escalated. Words like shrapnel. My accusations of cowardice. His of naivety. You left once, he hurled, voice cracking. What's stopping you now? I stormed out, boots crunching snow to the barn, where hay bales muffled sobs. Hours later, he found me, coat dusted white, eyes pleading. I'm sorry. I hate this place sometimes. But I love you more. We reconciled in whispers, bodies entwining slow, rediscovering trust in the loft's chill. Spring thawed us too, buds on the oaks, a tentative invite from Dad for Easter. But Marla's poison lingered, anonymous notes tacked to our door. Sodomites go home. Harlan burned them, jaw set, but fear shadowed his laugh. Summer brought the storm's eye, the county fair, same as the photo that started it. We walked it anyway, hands brushing, defying stares. Tommy lurked by the Ferris wheel, uniform crisp, but a nod replaced the leer progress, or truce, as dusk fell, fireworks bursting like defiant stars. Harlan pulled me behind the midway, kissing me fierce under colored lights. We're okay, he murmured, and for a moment, I believed. But autumn winds carried change. A job offer pinged my inbox, curator at a queer arts collective in San Francisco. Full ride, ocean views. I showed Harlan over coffee, heart hammering. What if we go? Start fresh. His face clouded, then cleared with resolve. Together, we sold the house quick, Scout's grave marked with a stone. Willow Creek bid farewell in murmurs, some handshakes, some cold shoulders. Dad hugged me tight at the airport, whispering, "Be happy, son." That's all I want. Mom slipped me a quilt, embroidered with "Home is where love is." San Francisco swallowed us in fog and freedom. Rainbow flags snapping in the breeze, galleries humming with unapologetic stories. Harlan found work at a community center, coaching diverse kids who high-fived without question. Our apartment overlooked the bay, windows flung wide to salt air and possibility. Nights, we'd walk the bridge, hands linked, city lights winking like accomplices. Shocked yet, he'd tease, echoing that first door's click. I'd laugh, pulling him close. Every day. In the best way, betrayal had forged us stronger, conflicts alchemized to compassion. Love, we learned, isn't shock or scandal, it's the quiet choice to turn the key, step through, and build. Yet even in paradise, shadows stretch. By our second anniversary, marked with crab at a wharfside bistro, rings exchanged in a sunset vow under the Golden Gate, cracks spiderwebbed anew. Harlan thrived in his role, stories of his kids filling dinners, but I'd catch him staring at the horizon, jaw tight. What's eating you? I'd ask, fork midway to mouth. Nothing, he'd deflect, that Nebraska drawl thickening like storm clouds. But I knew the pull of roots, the what-ifs of fields left fallow. My work exploded, a retrospective at MoMA, panels on Midwestern queerness, thrusting me into spotlights he shied from. "You're a star," he'd say, pride laced with something sharper, like envy or eclipse. The betrayal brewed slow, pot left simmering. It boiled over at a fundraiser gala, chandeliers dripping light like liquid gold, donors in tuxes swirling with champagne flutes. I was mid-pitch to a collector my latest series, Fractured Fields, evoking cornstalk silhouettes against urban sprawl, when I spotted him across the room. Harlan, laughing too loud with a silver-haired benefactor, hands lingering on an arm, eyes alight in a way I'd missed in months. Jealousy spiked, irrational yet raw. Later, in our hotel suite overlooking the park, I confronted him, tie yanked loose. "Who's the guy? Old flame?" He blinked, caught, then sighed. "Just networking, Levi. He's funding a youth program back home." The half-truth hung, and I pressed, "Or rekindling regrets?" The fight was our ugliest, voices echoing off marble, accusations flying like shattered glass. "You drag me here, then pine for planes," I shouted. He fired back, "And you? Parading our pain for applause? That series, it's us, twisted for tears." Hurt bloomed deep. He'd seen through the art to the ache beneath. We slept back to back, the king bed a chasm. Morning brought olive branches, room service croissants, apologies murmured over coffee. "I miss the simplicity," he admitted, eyes downcast. "But I chose you." "Us," I nodded, forgiving too quick, as lovers do. Yet the seed of doubt sprouted, watered by distance, my travels to New York, his long days at the center. Fall deepened the divide. A call from Willow Creek. Dad's heart attack, sudden as prairie lightning. We flew back, Harlan's hand steady in mine through turbulence. The hospital smelled of antiseptic and regret, Mom's face gaunt in the waiting room. "He asked for you, Levi," she whispered, hugging tight. Dad, pale in his gown, gripped my hand. "Proud, son." Always was. Harlan waited outside, ever the shadow supporter. The funeral was a blur of casseroles and condolences, townies murmuring tragic loss while stealing glances at us. Tommy, broader now, offered a gruff handshake. "Sorry for your old man." And sorry for before. Redemption's whisper, small but seismic. We buried Dad under that same oak, soil rich with memories, and flew home lighter, somehow lost a tether drawing us closer. But grief unearths ghosts. Harlan withdrew again, volunteering extra hours, coming home hollow-eyed. "Helping kids reminds me why I coach," he'd say, but I heard the subtext, purpose beyond us. One night, post-argument over forgotten anniversary plans, I found his laptop open, emails to a recruiter in Lincoln, exploring options. Heart plummeting, I confronted him in the kitchen, screen glow casting accusatory shadows. "Leaving," the word cracked like ice. He startled, closing tabs frantic. "Just thinking. For us. Better pay. Stability." Lies crumbled under my gaze. This was flight from the man he'd shocked into loving. "Why now?" I demanded, tears hot. He deflated, shoulders slumping. "I'm scared, Levi. Of fading in your light. You're soaring, I'm grounded. Vulnerability poured then. Fears of aging. Irrelevance. The closeted boy he'd buried clawing up. I love you. But maybe space. Betrayal's blade twisted deep. Space? After everything, I packed a bag that night, crashing at a friend's in the Castro. Rainbow streets mocking my monochrome mood. Days blurred. Studio sessions furious. Canvases slashed with rage blues and regret reds. Friends urged therapy. Time, I urged Harlan to fight. He did, showing up at my door a week later, rain-soaked, eyes storm-tossed. Don't go. I was wrong again. We talked till dawn. On the fire escape where it began in Chicago. Truths bared like flayed skins. Therapy, he pledged. For me. Us. I agreed, unpacking as the sun rose. A tentative bridge rebuilt. Winter healed slow. Couples counseling in a Castro office. All plants and affirmations. Peeled layers. His imposter syndrome from small-town masculinity. My fear of abandonment etched in Willow Creek scars. We laughed through tears, role-playing conflicts till they lost sting. Harlan opened up, joined a queer men's group, shared stories that lightened his load. I pulled back from the frenzy, prioritizing us in sketches of shared sunrises. Spring bloomed renewal, a joint project, his photos of Bay Area youth paired with my portraits, exhibited at a local co-op. The opening thrummed with cheers, his arm around me as critics raved. Partners in every sense. One caption read, and we toasted to it, champagne bubbling like hope. Years layered on, gray in his temples, laugh lines framing my smiles. We adopted a rescue mutt, Luna, her wagging tail an echo of Scout's joy. Willow Creek visits softened. Mom's pride in grandpup photos, Tommy's kids calling Harlan Uncle Coach. Betrayals became backstory, conflicts compost for growth. On our 10th anniversary, atop Twin Peaks with the city sprawling below, Harlan knelt, not for rings, but a vow renewed. Shocked you then, he grinned, voice husky. Love you still, I pulled him up, kissing fierce. Best shock of my life, humanity, we'd learned, thrives in the mess. Dramatic falls, emotional climbs, romantic risks. Ours was a love American as apple pie and open roads. Flawed, fierce, forever chosen.